Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Don't Be Mad podcast, your weekly dose of the homies kicking it, shooting the shit, preparing for birthdays, but some of us got started earlier than the others. I'm your boy Matthew, aka Lefty Lucky, and I'm joined here as always with
Jamali.
And unfortunately, Jason thinks birthday sex is more important than recording an episode. Whack birthday sex, I presume, because whatever.
Why are you in your bedroom, bro? Just do the intro. You know.
I'm doing the intro. I also told him he was going to get some jokes for not being here. So let me give him some jokes. It's his birthday. He's probably feeling like an old man. He probably woke up this morning and his back was hurting a bit more than usual. You know, because he's one more year up in age. I know it was because it rained today. His knee was probably singing crazy songs.
Oh, wow. Entertaining.
But I will give him his birthday shout out since he feels so inclined to take it off when we come here and do our part. Happy birthday, Jason. We love you. I hope you're enjoying yourself. I hope you stretched and limbered up before you jumped into bed with your beautiful girlfriend, Christina. Hey, Christina. Anything you want to add to that, Jamal?
No.
Hey, Christina's parents, they're watching too?
Leave me out of this.
I hope you kids used protection.
Okay, Jason's not a kid. Jason's old enough to have had children already.
But he doesn't. And I'm assuming he doesn't want them right now. He does have other plans. So
you can't plan for kids, bro.
You can plan for kids. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Maybe you don't plan for kids. You just roll the dice and hope for the best.
I don't roll dice. I'm not you.
Couple Hail Marys.
Nah, bro. Not your football team.
What's my football team got to do with anything? We'll get to that.
That's what you guys
We will get to my football team. Right, Tyler? We will get to my football team. Both of my football teams.
Oh, fuck Chelsea.
Hey, come on. Why you got to be like that? Is it because we're in third and you're in 11th?
Whatever.
So enthusiastic. How was your week? How's the mental health, Jamali?
I'm great. Can't you tell?
I can tell so vividly. It's like the aura that you're presenting me. It's brightening. It's blinding. It is.
Yeah, I mean,
it's kind of like got like a purple trim to it.
A purple trim.
Red in the middle.
Very awkward.
How's that awkward? That's your aura. That's what I'm sensing from you. It's a little bit of rage, but at the same time, it's a little palpable. It's calm.
All right, let's get to some real shit. Enough of your small talk and annoyance.
It would be small talk if you talked. Give me a little chat back.
No need to. Let's get it.
Let's get it. My week was good.
No one asked.
Hey, respect.
I told you, no need for the small talk.
My week was good. Broncos won on Sunday.
Okay, you guys beat the Cleveland Browns, bro.
Yo, you know what? That is 3 more wins than I gave my team this season.
Mm-hmm. I know. I'm happy because Tyler was talking shit last week about his 9-week winning streak. Started off with a loss.
He said it was going to start with us. And for us, it was Brandon Allen holding it down. And since Joe Flacco's out, which, I mean, is it a blessing in disguise?
It most likely is.
Maybe it is. Maybe it's too early to say. You know, it is the Browns. You know, like we can't put that win on a pedestal. It was against Tyler's Browns.
Well, shit.
Tyler's very sad, very dysfunctional. Baker Mayfield led Browns.
Oh yeah, Baker Mayfield did his thing.
Yeah, he did his thing all right. Pulled up another L. You love to see it, or in Tyler's case, you hate to see it.
Well, I mean, I'm happy because he was talking shit from the beginning of the season about how great these Cleveland Browns are going to be since Odell Beckham.
I never get mad at anyone for talking shit, but you got to back it up.
Hey, it is what it is.
I infamously cheer for a lot of shit talkers. You know, like we were just watching the UFC clip or like the highlights of Masvidal. You know, he's a shit talker, but he backs it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey. I respect it. I respect it fully.
For me, football's over, so I really don't care to talk about it.
Hey, your Giants almost pulled it off.
Shut up.
Yo, they almost pulled out. Look, you went up against the best team in your division, and you gave them a hard time.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about things that really matter.
What's on your heart?
Well, you were talking about the whole lead situation. I think that's very interesting.
We're going to jump right into the serious.
Yes, why not?
All right, let's go for it.
So go ahead. Tell the audience what you're
basically,
telling me.
a study came out that was conducted from a few journalists, American journalists specifically, that went across all Canadian cities, some major, some small, and found that in certain parts of Canadian cities, they had lead in the water that was comparable to, or in some cases worse than, Flint, Michigan. And basically, it's something that hasn't been reported widespread. It is, in most cases, wasn't even known for a lot of Canadian citizens, and it's caused a bit of an uproar.
Pretty crazy when you think about it, right?
It is. Because, I mean, when the whole situation with Flint happened, it was something that, nationally was a crisis. A lot of people were talking about, but on top of it, it was this view that people were waiting to see what was going to be done about it, And
because you think about it, we know in certain areas with Aboriginal population, they don't have drinking water. Yeah. Period.
Access to, or just even water that would be polluted for that sense.
You know what I mean? And so to think that you have those cases, which I think is extreme, and now you had places where you think you have drinkable water.
Yeah.
And to come to find out that it's polluted with lead. It's pretty scary.
No, it is. And one thing to really consider is, how long has this been going on?
How long has it been known, first and foremost?
Well, that's the thing. It's how long has it been going on? How long has it been known? And then from it being known, what exactly was being done about it? Because although it's not the complete cities, they have said certain specific areas were affected by it. And a lot of it came about from these journalists just saying, hey, go take some of your water, go to this facility. They're known as a tester.
Right.
And just test the water, tell them where you got your water from. And then from that, they were basically getting the research. And there was a couple thousand in each city that they did, who from every area that they were conducting that did it, so that they can find the averages of what the lead to water.
And was this in obviously, impoverished or environments?
No, it was all over. They went every.
So you're telling me particularly this could be a Westmount issue?
It could be, yeah.
Cool. Wow, that's crazy.
I remember I had the list. I was looking for it before we started, but I think I might have accidentally deleted the webpage that I had, and it's gonna take a while to search, because they had, especially for Montreal, each area that they said had either comparable to or more than.
Wow.
So I'll try to do a little scrolling afterwards.
Is DG in that list?
Huh?
DG's on that list?
Did not see any G, so I was like, whew.
Thank God. I'm not drinking water outside of the hood.
That's why I looked for the list. I was like, yo, let me just find it out right quick.
I am not drinking water outside of the hood.
I did not see any G on the list, so I felt good. But at the same time, I still was just like, yo, this is fucked up, because, especially for a lot of Canadian cities, I know us specifically, tap water, you put it in a pitcher, put it in the fridge, you don't really think much of it,
You don't, actually. You don't.
Because we're not in one of those places where we constantly get the warnings of you got to boil the water first.
There you go.
So from that, it's to hear you have this huge issue now that we could have been potentially consuming, washing, cooking with contaminated water for an extended period of time.
Right. You need to find out how long this was going on and who was aware of it and
the potential health effects that it could have had on you or family members.
Oh yeah,
basically the potential of for your health and what it could have done is pretty steep.
Damn,
fucked up world, man.
Nobody's safe.
Yo, it's crazy though. Just the mere thought, because I remember when I saw the story come up, I honestly thought it was a joke. I thought it was one of those things, how every now and then on social media, just a random thing will pop up, and you got to really consider the source.
Right.
And because it wasn't any quote unquote legitimate news sources, I was just kind of all right, what the fuck is this? And then Global picks it up, and they did a bit of research on who had done it and realized, no, this is actually
a legitimate
legit.
Source. Wow.
And I think what they had done was they went to the facilities that were essentially had people that came in and test, and they're like, yeah, this is what we found in the water.
Damn.
So I know once this like once the story came out, basically what people were saying is go to one of these facilities with your tap water and find out, like pretty much put more data into this so we can really find out how severe it is.
Do you really? I mean,
across the board.
At this point, you can't even trust your tap water. You might as well just buy bottled water and survive off that.
But even with that, it's like
some of these facilities,
what we know of bottled water today,
tap water,
but like I'm saying, like what we know of like what plastic and,
but it doesn't matter. But most of them are filled up by same systems. So
no, so even if it's coming from one of these areas, you may have to test that as well because I'm gonna
get me a barrel, catch all the rain and snow, and filter that shit out. That's crazy.
Isn't that illegal?
How is it illegal?
I think it is. It might be.
No, it's not.
No, like I'm not even saying that as a joke. Like I think it actually might be illegal.
It's illegal to trap rainwater.
Yeah, I think so.
They want to kill us then.
Yo, it's fucked, man.
There's a reason. Fuck out of here.
Government's fucked up, bro.
That's crazy. But even with, what do you think of what's going on in Montreal with the whole language issue where now I've even seen a report where they're like, if you're a hockey player on the Canadians, you should have a functional level of French.
Look, when it comes to these language laws, everything they do to protect and preserve Quebec traditions, it's literally just their way of saying we're trying to push everything out without just actively doing what the Americans do, which is just say, get out, like, no, like that's literally what it is. It's like, how do you make people not want to come here? How do you make businesses that aren't going to essentially buy into Quebec specifically not come here? And it's, all right, we just keep creating stricter and stricter language laws.
But do you think that it should be necessary for people who live within Quebec to be bilingual?
I think to an extent, yeah. I mean, like just for the simple fact that it is a French predominant area, so it would be good to, if you're here, know the language to some extent. I don't think when it comes to business, in a sense, and that's the one place that I find that that's where we shoot ourselves in the foot.
Right.
Because essentially when you're looking at the economics of the province and what would be better for it, it would be to welcome in businesses, not to the point where it's like, all right, you come in, you make your money, but you don't put back into the province itself. But you think of like the jobs that could be created if like some of these major companies, especially knowing that you're in a place that already has a lot of bilingual, trilingual people within its borders.
Polyglot to the whole. Because,
yeah, like, like how many people do we know that speak 3+ languages? Like
a lot.
It's a lot of people. So if you think of that from a business sense, you already have that potential to have one of the most exceptional cosmopolitan hubs for business.
For sure.
Where the economy could be booming to the point
from
where
a global perspective.
Yeah, imagine if you had a Silicon Valley in Quebec, because that could extend beyond just tech itself, because of how the languages would be able to go from, you think about the English that we have, the French we have, then think about the big Arab community that we have, then on top of the African community that we have, the Chinese community, like the extent that you could have in creating those bridges within this province. Or I know what I'm speaking of is mostly like of the major cities of this province, but just in general, having the French and English here and knowing that you promote that to get businesses to come, this province within itself should be one of the richest in the country, without a doubt.
Right. I mean, in North America, I think there's a very few countries within North America that you could find the levels of polyglots.
Yeah.
In comparative, like I think Toronto might be close, Vancouver, but I think all in all, Quebec is probably ahead of it.
No, like, yeah, definitely Toronto is one of those places where you can have that. And I know like we're speaking from the scope of how Montreal is so culturally diverse, but that would extend beyond if you're seeing the boom that can happen if you just allow things to come in.
Right.
You know, and then it's all right, even if the nexus of it all is in Montreal, companies will expand and extend into some of these other cities that are here. Even some of the smaller cities, you create businesses like Amazon would come in, and I know like that's like probably one of like the best worst scenarios, because we know how kind of like what's the best way to say it? as good as they are as creating jobs and boosting an economy, they can also be very horrible based on treatment of workers.
I mean, it depends how you look at it. I mean, it's like the Walmart concept, right?
Exactly. Like that would be the best way to explain it.
So, Walmart comes in, all the mom and pops businesses go down or out.
Yeah.
You see even Staples in their communities, i.e. Zellers. I'm sure there was a management issue beyond that as well, but I'm sure the presence of Walmart
how Target came and went.
Help. Huh?
I said how Target came and went.
Oh yeah, they just had a bad. Their entry strategy was poor, and it led to what it led to. But I do agree with you because having worked in the call center environment, I know a lot of companies from banks, telecom, pharmaceuticals. They're all based here in Montreal, just for the fact that you can have even travel agencies.
Yeah,
a lot of them are based here in Montreal, where you call in and you have people who speak diverse languages and get service. I do agree with you; it would be really dope, but it's like in a way, like I obviously from an immigrant perspective, I do see like how their laws hinder people from actually having the desire to come into Quebec. But I gotta say, on a little part of me, being that I came here at the age of 9, spoke only English, or at least you could call it patois, fresh off the boat, and I do see the benefit of knowing French. And I have friends who were born here who don't speak a lick of French, and I think that's the most stupidest thing. Like, you have an opportunity where you could learn a second or third language. Why would you not take the opportunity to do so? That being said, I think the going about it where you're pressuring people to do it is where it becomes distasteful. It becomes a bit of where you're going to get pushback. But I do think as immigrants, let's be honest. If I went to China and I was trying to survive, I would have to learn Chinese, whether it's Mandarin or Cantonese.
At least the basic phrases,
Right. If I went anywhere in the world, I would have to, and I don't speak the language they spoke, I would have to learn it. I think the way Quebec is going about it is that they're making their language issue, because I think any normal person would go for it. And let's be honest, if you're going outside of the bounds of Montreal, Laval, even Saint Constant, Dorion area, you're going to need French.
Yeah, like all
Quebec
those areas
City,
out there,
you might get away with it a bit. Yeah. But real talk, like, I don't think it's a need for them to, like, we have the school board issue right now where they're trying to abolish that. The language police, we had Bill 101. I was affected by Bill 101. So I was forced to go to French school. They were trying to extend that now to colleges.
Yeah.
Which I think is a bit...
I think that's a bit much.
Yeah, if I'm paying my own money, and I'm not my own money, obviously I know colleges are subsidized by the government. If I'm trying to, do something for my own good and making decisions for my future, I think I should have the right to choose a language in which I learn it. But yeah, it was quite interesting of a week in seeing all these different issues present itself, and how people are reacting to it. But I do think it's necessary. I think if I'm going to be fair, hey, if you're going to go into somebody's house, you got to live by their rules. Some of the rules are a bit extreme, but put it this way, you're not going to lose learning French.
No, and that's the thing. Like, I completely agree with that. If you're going to be here, you should at least know it. And I feel like on the same idea is like the only place where we shoot ourselves in the foot is when we just try to make it stricter and stricter.
Right.
Because then it's either you have the people who essentially have no choice. They're here. They don't have the means to go anywhere else.
Right.
They have to say they will follow the rules, or the people who have the means are just going to be like, well, screw it. I'll take my money and my business ideas and everything elsewhere. So it's that catch-22 of, the people that are here, they'll follow into it. They'll learn French and they'll be forced into the system as you want it to be. But then the potential of the growth you could have had if you just took a step back and just said, look, French is here. Look, in the educational system side,
right?
Cool. If you want to do the Bill 101 thing and have them go, do that. So be it. But beyond that, to force it even more to the point where it's just like now you have adults going into CJEP or university who have that choice, have that agency to make their decisions, and you're trying to take that away from them now. It's like that's where you got to really just assess what type of lines are we trying to draw here, and what exactly are those long-term benefits to our population, our economy in doing so.
I think I think also the problem why they push so hard is because I feel like they probably believe that there's a pushback that they get from, the immigrant community. Because I think, and I mean, if you think about it, from an immigrant perspective, if you get, be it however you come to Quebec, minus sponsorship, like spousal sponsorship and adoption, every other facet where you enter into Quebec, they offer you, within the first year, some form of language for free. You can go in, they'll give you, and I think that's a cool thing to do. You're not paying out of pocket.
It's reasonable.
They're reasonable with you. I think people just have this, as immigrants, I don't know why, I don't know when it started, this nature of kicking back against it. But what we don't realize on the grand scheme of it all is that the world's getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
People are getting closer and closer. If we could communicate, the more language you could communicate with,
the better,
or in, the more likelihood you are to be successful, And I think maybe as immigrants, we should look at this and be like, you know what? Hey, let's find some common ground. Obviously, they're saying to take away the hi, the bonjour hi policy that they have, which is pathetic.
Like they do every year. Every year it happens.
But, they're just like, we should take that away.
It's like that's the same conversation as like the Merry Christmas in shopping centers. Like it's every year. Say Happy Holidays instead of Merry Christmas. Get rid of the hi in front after the bonjour. It's like, dude, come on, man.
I mean, I think it's pathetic. But I mean, again, this is what we have when we live in a sensitive community. Everything is offensive. Everybody get offended.
Well, everybody's looking to be offended. I think that's
but everybody gets offended.
And look, everybody gets offended when the offense occurs, but today it's more people looking to be offended, to have something to chirp about.
Right.
It's like, it's one of these things of how, we had this whole stance on, being against bullying, which, great thing. Like bullying isn't a good thing at all. We shouldn't have that.
No.
But what ended up happening in that was people going out of their way to spot and destroy and demean bullies.
Which is bullying.
Exactly. So it's like
counterproductive.
You saw the people who were bullied become the bullies because they're like, yeah, you did this to me.
Right.
You're a bad person. And it's like, at some point, you look at the situation that we're creating with all this, and it's like, we got to remind people the things that offend you, to do those things makes you the offender. Like you are no better than that person if you do that and take this approach. So yeah, like in your topic of people being offended and going out of their way to be offended, and this whole bonjour hi thing, it's like somebody saying bonjour hi, it does absolutely nothing to you.
Oh yeah. I mean, we've seen cases and we've heard cases, obviously, the full scope of it. But like, there was like, I think earlier this year, there was that woman who died at a French hospital because she couldn't speak English because they were just not trying. Yeah, pretty much.
They flat out ignored her.
And I feel like, when people losing lives like that, I think that's pretty pathetic. I mean, we see how much money we disperse in like hospital costs. We're rebuilding the children's, but we're also rebuilding the Saint Justine because the French people need their own children's hospital, as you know what I mean, like the English do. It's just, I feel like with the whole separation, I feel like it's unnecessary. Yeah. I think they might need to have some sort of common ground because it's like, it's stupid. Like you have hockey players who come here. It's a business transaction. This should not be subject to your, I think they do pay taxes in Quebec.
Yeah,
they have to. Do. I don't think this should be subject to your language laws. They're not speaking.
I mean, they're professional athletes who, in most cases, aren't from here. They're picked up from the organization. So in some cases, them being here is not their choice. It's,
Right.
you were drafted or traded here,
Right.
or you were a free agent and they picked you up off of waivers. Like, this is the situation for you.
Right.
So to now have them be forced into tutoring classes? Like, you literally have some guys that don't even speak English.
Right.
In hockey, like they're from Europe, they're Russian, they're Swedish,
Ukraine,
and like
Swedish,
they're trying to learn
Finnish.
English,
Right.
so that they can function with their teammates. Let alone now you're telling people like if they're on the Canadians, you gotta learn French. Like try to force them that. Like
Yeah,
imagine
it's
I'm
crazy.
trying to learn English and now I have to learn both English and French to accommodate this place that I'm playing in.
Good luck for the Nordiques returning. That's not going to happen.
But that's the thing. It's like imagine Quebec trying to force this on one of the original 6 franchises. Would you want to bring the Nordiques back?
Hell no.
Like now you're essentially something that Quebec really wants to happen. You're making the NHL look at it like,
Nah.
you know what? On second thought, maybe we go back to Atlanta. Like what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like,
Yo, they're going to have a bunch of Eric Lindros. That's all I know.
but it's
They get
ridiculous,
drafted and
man.
they'll be like, yeah, so I'm going to sit out this year until.
But it's just ridiculous. Like at a certain point, you got to really ask yourself, what are you complaining about? You know?
Well, it's also, I think, like, we do have a contributing factor to it where I think, like, a lot of immigrant, I'm not going to say Anglophones, are very, they push against it. And I think they feel like they need to push back. I also feel like what they fail to realize, like, English is such a commonly spoken language across the globe that people pick up. I remember when I was in elementary school, it was, first of all, you can get a detention if you spoke English during school hours. No joke. You would miss your lunch. Like they would like, you're not going outside to play. And like we had like these Chinese kids, I remember Yiping and Suyu, were like, they spoke not even a lick of English when we were in like welcome class together. And in 3-4 months, they were able to pick it up like this. And then they're still struggling with French. And I'm sure like when they see, like they need to be realistic in the way languages are learned. You know what I mean? Like your TV's English, you're going to watch more English content, music. And, I think they need to make the culture inclusive so that people would have the desire. Like we don't see a lot of Asian French people on TV. You get what I'm saying? We see a lot of black French people, but then they don't represent the majority of black folks, right? They're going to be probably from like a French colony.
No, legit.
I don't wanna
Haiti,
sound-
like one of the African.
You know what I mean? I don't
like
sound
Senegal.
fucked up, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
You hardly see representation from like the English islands of speaking French. There is a few, but they're far and few in between.
You're not far off.
Right. So like I think if Quebec was to be more inclusive with having other race who, and there is fully functional people with it. I speak French, I think, decently. I'm not going to speak French now, but unless you're cutting the check, that's when I speak French. If you're cutting the check, I can speak French to you. But no, they should. If they want immigrants to be, to learn, make it inclusive.
Yeah.
How cool would it be to have? I never seen a Chinese guy. No, think about it. I've never seen a Chinese guy on TV that spoke French.
I would probably have to agree with you. Like, because one of the things too, because even for myself, like I'll watch like a few French shows, just like keep the practice going because it's not my mother tongue. And yeah, like usually it's white or black, like it's not or Arab. Like there's not really anything beyond that.
No,
like I really can't remember the last time I watched a show that was like Quebec-based French and saw like a French Asian person. Like, and like I'm not saying it to be funny or anything.
No,
like I'm dead serious. And like people at home, like if you know a show or if you've seen an episode or something, or maybe a talk show, send it our way.
Let me know.
Let's post the link.
I'm curious.
But like legit, like I can't think of any time that I remember such a thing happening. Maybe RDS. But even then, like.
What is he
Sports.
commentating on? What, badminton?
Sports. But I mean that's maybe the only time I could be like,
I never seen that either. I'm just saying.
It's kind of fucked to like I'm like, wait, huh?
Considering our conversation before the mic got hot with I'm not gonna call the radio station out.
Yeah. It's cool. It's Gucci. It's Gucci.
But you know, it's funny. Like, I think they need to have representation for people to be, you know, involved. Like, I watch a lot of like European shit. You know what I mean? Like shows, not shit, but shows.
UK.
Not just UK, but like even like you watch some soccer players.
Yeah.
They may not necessarily speak a language fluently, but they know how to,
they'll learn.
Learn, and they communicate. And I think it's because there's other, people that look like them that speak the language.
Yeah, and like you think of like a sport like soccer,
right?
And you think of the extent of how it goes, like the major leagues that they have. You know, like you have in the UK, you have in France, you have Italy, Spain,
right?
Germany as well. And a lot of times these players, they go in between, they go back and forth, or they have players from those countries coming in. So for the most part, you want to, especially if you're a manager, you want to have like at least 3 languages under your belt. So it's like, if for any reason one of them will be able to understand it, and then maybe somebody will be able to translate it, you know?
Like, you look at a player like Cristiano Ronaldo, or even Messi, they're not English speaking people.
No.
You know what I mean? But when they do give an interview in English, you could see they try.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's how you're supposed to build and be welcoming. I think Quebec need to revise its whole strategy. And
I can understand when it comes to the citizenship and the people that you're bringing in, 100%. Like, if you want to have those language laws that acclimate them to the language, obviously, and not in the sense of what we were saying before of like force feeding it, but just make it so the language is accessible to them, that they can learn it and be able to function within the province. But when players that are here for 3-4 seasons, sometimes even less time than that, like, to force them to know the language, you're pushing the buttons.
Oh, you can't. No, I think there's no place in it. You can't do it for soccer. You can't force Impact players to learn it. You shouldn't be able to force Alouette players to learn it, or any professional level sport where players are coming from all over the place. You can't. That's completely out of it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, you're gonna tell me you're gonna have an executive from Bell Canada that comes here for 3-4 months or even 3 years, and you're gonna force him to? No, you can't do that. Cut it out. I think they need to cut that out, but. Best of luck for all us Quebecers.
All right. There was a story that came out from Jackie McMullen about Kyrie Irving and his mood swings that I wanted to touch on a bit. I don't know if did you hear about this?
Yeah, I definitely did.
Yeah. So for the people at home, basically, it's Jackie McMullen, who's one of the most respected sports writers that is out today. Like, she's based in Boston, has talked about the Celtics, Patriots, pretty much across the board on Boston
Bruins,
sports. And she had a piece that came out that was essentially talking about some of the issues that the Celtics had with Kyrie Irving when it came to like his emotional state, his mood swings, and just the way he goes about his day-to-day in basketball. And this was coming off the heels of a situation that happened with the Brooklyn Nets, where they were having to be a little bit more cautious to the way Kyrie works, because there were situations that happened when they were over in China where, there was a day where maybe he was like super inviting, talking to everyone, things of that nature. And then the very next day, he's just very cold, not really embracing people he was talking to like openly for hours the day before. He's now like not even like looking at them when he's walking by them, type of thing, And a conversation was started about how, at what point do we draw the line of having these conversations about players when we also have these conversations about mental health? And just at what point are we not prioritizing somebody's mental health for the sake of what we feel like the league policies and rules are in terms of like talking to media and things of that nature,
Right.
And I don't know how you feel about this, but like the way I was looking at it is, like we've had many talks about Kyrie as like the player, and how a lot of times these conversations come about like, is he a leader? Is he somebody that can lead a team and things of that nature? And the one thing I think we've always been able to agree upon is he has the skill. He's the type of guy you can put out there, and he's going to give the effort. But when it comes to the things outside of basketball, maybe that's his hindrance.
Right.
And even with that, I've looked at it like with this story coming out, at a certain point, when are we going to stop trying to force feed these players to be more than what they actually want to be for the sake of, what we have going on in social media, these policies that the NBA puts out where it's like we force players to talk to media so that they can have their sound bites and their like 2-3 minute clips on ESPN. And when exactly are we going to prioritize that? Like maybe these players aren't in the positions where we should be making them do these things.
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I find it ironic that it comes out after he leaves Boston.
Oh,
I was
that's another topic in itself.
I was just like, okay, he was there for a good 3 years.
Yeah.
2, 3.
I think 2.
No, he broke his leg on the first year.
That's true. Yeah, he didn't play.
Then he did
3.
play 3 years.
He was there for 3.
Right, because I find it ironic that she chose to put out that piece now. And the thing I have really is, again, it goes back to what we were talking earlier, just a while ago actually, about sensitivity. Now, am I supposed to be happy every single moment? No. Human, there are dichotomies within one individual. I think, it's obviously strange. There's days when you and I could have a really good conversation, like today. Don't ruin it, because I know you're known for it.
Don't get me started.
But then there's moments where like you just get on my last nerve, and I'm like, I fucking hate this kid. But you know what I mean? These guys are humans. They're not robots. You know what I mean? Like they have a lot going, on in their heads, and obviously being wealthy, they probably have businesses they're doing. They have to trust a lot of people. When you have to trust a lot of people or rely on a lot of people for shit, you get into your head as well. You're like, is this person, he might have gone out and met a nice young lady and he's like, I really like her, but is she with me for me or she's with me for my money? Or he might have, a business that's running and doing well, but then family members saying like, oh, the business manager's taking money. Like you never know what these guys go through. And I think it's not a mental health issue per se. I just think it's a concept. It's like the same thing like where people like, I forgot her name, the reporter from Fox, when she was telling LeBron to shut up and dribble. It's sort of like these guys are human. They should be able to express themselves as normal human beings. Yeah. They're not supposed to be jovial every step of the way. And yes, obviously, at the same time, Kyrie should be mindful of the fact that everybody's not in his head. Everybody doesn't know what's going on. And maybe he should be expressive. But at the end of the day, what brings all these guys together is basketball. And as long as he's performing on the court and he's not doing anything to diminish the value of the NBA or the team that pays him, I think they should leave him alone.
Yeah, no, because like I look at it as, I look from my perspective where I know I don't have all eyes on me, but I still have days where it's like, let's say I go to work, I have a day where I'm come in full of spirit, full of energy, saying hi to everyone, how you doing? You ready to get the day started? No. The small talk I'm actually willing to do. Then I'll have other days where I come in and I'm just like, don't want to say a word. Let me just get my things, go to my station, do what I have to do. Let me get this 8 hours over with type of thing.
Pretty much.
And I do that without having hundreds of thousands to millions of people constantly messaging me, having people recognize me anywhere I go, having people constantly criticizing the work that I do, having to constantly perform at the highest level on the biggest stage, night in and night out. And on top of that, being able to literally get away and disconnect and become a ghost within society if need be once my job is done.
Whereas most definitely,
when you look at not just Kyrie in a sense, but these players or athletes in general, like we have
celebrity in general.
Well, that's what I'm getting to. Like we have turned the athlete into celebrity. We've turned it to a position where it's like who we have you in our heads is who we expect you to be at all times.
Right.
And we don't give them a break. Like usually for athletes, they only had to deal with the media and they only had to deal with the fans during the season.
Right.
Once the off season came, it was like we didn't know what they were doing, who they were with, how they were training. It was like, it's the off season.
They had a kind of a private.
They literally
had privacy. To a certain degree.
To an extent, to the masses at that point. Not that they're out of sight, out of mind, but it's like they got that amount of separation. But now, because everything is at the tip of the fingers, these guys have no escape. And it's a wonder that we don't have more people who are essentially showing the signs of, like, I want to say the mental wear and tear of just wanting to essentially break away within the moments of being within that spotlight. You know, you have guys that will go the extra mile to appease the masses of the people and do things that will help them, you know, get like an inside look of who they are. But I think it was 2 seasons ago where there was a really big discussion on the mental health of athletes in this day and age of having constant communication, or at least the fans having constant communication to them.
Right.
I mean, you see it to the point where like certain athletes and celebrities for that matter will they'll disconnect the comment section. So like they'll put a post and you can't say anything. Cause I mean, bringing it to like UK football, there was a situation that happened in Arsenal where their captain, who for months from the fans was getting bantered at, like they were just saying horrible things to him.
Yeah, I remember.
Horrible things to his wife, wishing horrible things on his daughter, to the point where like he just completely disconnected fans from being able to communicate with him on social media. And then it just went from, okay, we can't do it to you on social media, we'll do it to you at the game. And, you know, he's getting substituted off and they're getting like the sarcastic applauding, they're booing him. And when he breaks, essentially just flips off the fans, tells them to fuck off straight up. And then when he's walking off, he like took his jersey off. They're flipping out like, oh, you're the captain, you can't do this. But it's like, you guys for months have been belittling this man, treating him like shit. You know, and it's not just an Arsenal thing. Like you see it with
Barnatelli. How many times did he cry getting off the pitch?
Mario Balotelli recently just came off the pitch because there was racist chants coming from a specific section of an arena.
Right.
And then
Samuel Eto'o when he took the ball and walk off.
You know, like, and it comes to a point where you expect these people to just eat the shit you constantly throw at them.
Right.
You know, like, and you think they have to do this because they wear a certain jersey or wear a certain color or
they make money. That's
how
it's like, that's how it is.
It's like you get paid millions of dollars to go out there and perform the way I want you to, or this is what I'm going to do to you.
Right.
But at the end of the day, these people are still human.
100%.
And the fact that you don't have more cases of people either doing what Kyrie does from time to time, and I don't think it's a mental health issue at all.
No.
I think it's literally just his way of, I need to break away from you guys.
Yeah, like, you know, give me a second.
It's like, I'm going to do this because if not, I may snap.
Oh, yeah.
Or you have the situation that happened in Arsenal where the captain says, you know what? I'm not going to hold my tongue anymore.
Enough is enough.
Fuck you guys.
Yeah.
You don't deserve the best from me. You guys are assholes. You guys have said horrible things to me and my family. Why should I hold my tongue anymore? You know? And it gets to a point where I feel like the fans and the media, the reporters themselves, we have to really start looking at the way we go about our approach with these athletes and these celebrities. Because
I think also too, one of the major things that plays a major role, obviously social media. Like prior to 2006, it's not that old. I mean, I remember when we went into Dawson, you know, to get a Facebook account, you had to have a college
you had
email.
to be, exactly. You had to have the college email, or you had to have somebody who was already a member send you the invite.
Right. And to see where it has, you know, in 13 years, what it has grown to be, I think that's a major, major thing. Because prior to then, you know, I don't know what Michael Jordan was doing in the off season. Was he really lifting weights? I don't know.
He was gambling.
99%. You know what I mean? Did he leave the earth and come back? You know what I mean? Like, we don't know. And I think the fact that we have such, accessibility, I would say.
It's accessible.
We have such a, you know, an accessibility to these guys that, you know, a fan could say something and, you know, we've seen people go off on fans.
Yeah.
We've seen people go off on
Malice in the Palace, man.
You know, not like that. I'm talking on social media where you could say one thing and then it just a ripple effect and you could ruin people's day.
Speaking of, there was I can't remember his name, but a Browns player who, after the match against my Broncos, who beat them, he actually went on like a full-on Twitter rant and just attacking anybody who was, but like full-on saying, "Yo, I will kill you." To the point where like the Browns are just like, "Yo, we have to release you. Like this is bad."
Oh,
but
wow.
it's also like, "Yo, I just lost the game."
Right.
And the first thing I'm getting is like literally thousands of people in my mentions saying you're a piece of shit, you're horrible, you're this, you're that. And he lashes out because, I mean, albeit way beyond what you should, but him lashing out.
Is it really
it's
way
like,
beyond that it should, or it's based on the stage
I
in
say
which
you're
he
a
did
piece
it?
of shit. You say, yo, send me your location. I'll kill you today. Like, yeah, that's a bit much.
No, it's not a bit much because if you take it into, I think it's wrong. I'm not saying it's not, but let's say social media didn't exist, and he was walking out to the stadium, and someone told him that I'm gonna fuck you up. It's whoever is in the hearing of that.
Yeah.
But when you do it on social media, a person who, like yourself in Montreal, who wasn't even close to the event, has an opinion, right? You and your opinion is rightfully just.
Entitled to it.
And you're entitled to it. And I think that's the problem. A lot of these things gets put on a platform that it shouldn't have to be on. Like, I don't think the article was necessary. I think if the article was necessary, it would have been released a long time ago, or should have been released a long time ago. And I feel like if there is an issue with any player and an organization about the way he handles himself within the organization, should be addressed within the organization. It shouldn't be something for us to have a debate on, because again, there's so many facets to one individual and so much extension to their life that we don't really know what could trigger certain people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it was stupid for her to even publish it. To be quite honest.
I won't say that because I think these conversations in general, whether for or against the premise of it, they are good to have because it opens up a window into just the way we understand the angles we're taking. Because I don't think she put it, well, based on like the portions of it I read, I can say she didn't put it out to be malicious. It wasn't coming from a position of, you know, this is what's wrong with him. It was more of, let's try to understand him. But the only place I felt it lacked a bit was just understanding the pressures beyond just the mental state or the person that we have grown to know Kyrie to be at this point.
Why I say it was unnecessary is because her perspective, her opinions are not shared by teammates of his, which
I can't say
which
do or don't. We can't say they do or
no,
don't.
we could say that because we know for a fact that players are very outspoken.
No.
Hold on a second. Let me finish my point.
No, they're not.
Let me finish my point. I think if Kyrie was the way she was describing him to be, he was on a team with LeBron James, Kevin Love, you know, a lot of other players who are not afraid to speak their mind. Mm-hmm. Then he gets on Boston, and we know those kids up in Boston wasn't, you know, from Smart wasn't the smartest person, even though that was his last name. You know, he was very outspoken. They would have said something. Everybody has very positive things to say about him as a teammate. Granted, yes, some people are just going to be like, yo, I don't want to get into a conversation. I'm just going to be like, hey, this is the politically correct answer. It was great playing ball with him. But I think if it was such a problem, it would have been brought to the forefront by somebody.
I think you underestimate the power of camaraderie within sports leagues itself.
No,
because
I don't.
If there's one thing that you see, like within teams, especially like you mentioned how he was on the team with LeBron and Kevin Love, in that situation, he wasn't the face of the franchise.
Correct.
Even though, the media would come and talk to him because he was arguably the second best player on that team.
Right, and at times of best.
Everything went through LeBron.
Right.
And of what we know of LeBron when it comes to the teams he plays on, he does whatever he needs to do to make sure that the team runs fluidly.
Right.
So why put Kyrie in a position where the things that we know may be a negative for him will come to the light. I don't think those players in any way, shape, or form would have wanted whatever things they may have felt were an issue towards him to come out. Even in Boston, where, coming towards the end of it, stories were coming out, or at least rumors of the way Kyrie is mentally, the way he is with players and with staff. They were starting, but nothing was provable because outside of what was going on in the team, nobody was coming out and saying this is definitive. But
you're not going to have a superstar like Kevin Love, LeBron James, Tatum, Smart come out and say shit. It's going to be the 12th guy on the bench who...
But even with that, the 12th man isn't going to risk it because he's not in a position where he's going to have protection.
Right.
And it's understanding, especially when it comes to teams.
Somebody would have said it.
Things that happen within the team or within the club, you don't go out and start saying it. Because once that happens, now you will literally either get traded away... Cut, right? Or shun. You're going to be riding the bench for however long until we feel like you're trustworthy again. Like it's not what you never want to break that trust, and you won't even do it once they leave because then it's a matter of, oh, you're the type of person. Like look at D'Angelo Russell. How long did it take D'Angelo Russell to come to a point where it's like we don't bring up that situation of him holding the camera up and recording Nick Young?
We still bring it up.
But like, I mean, in a sense of we bring it up as an example, but for a long time, it was brought up as a detriment to him.
Right, absolutely.
We're beyond it being a detriment. We look at him now as, you know what, like you've come into your own, you've come beyond that situation. And now that situation is more of a teachable moment and an example for everybody else to be like, this is what you don't do. He literally got traded away because of that. Look at Antonio Brown. Everybody says the shit that he did in the locker room when he was like Facebook Live or Instagram Living when Tomlin was having his speech. You don't do that. So when it comes to your team, when it comes to especially things that happen behind closed doors, you don't make it public.
Grant, I agree with you on that, but I think if his problem was detrimental, like, I mean, we see what happened to Antonio Brown. I'm sure D'Angelo Russell, despite this is what we know him for, I'm sure there's probably other things, plus his age is a bit, in question as well, was causing issues or friction within the team. That being said, I do believe that if someone was an ass to work with, as how the article is trying to describe Kyrie, as temperamented, as someone who has mood swings.
Like the biggest thing they were saying is the mood swings.
Right. I think if that was the issue, it would have came somehow, some way would have came to the forefront a long way before she said it. Like he's been in the league for 8 years.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
And think about the one time that it was ever an issue was during that time where he was the face.
Right.
And it's one of those things too, where when you become that person who, you came out of your way to say, you wanted to be a leader, you wanted to be here for a long time. Like these are his words. So now you put yourself in a position where, all right, if this is who you want to be, these are the responsibilities that come along with it. And then when you don't live up to those responsibilities, that's when the rumors start. He goes to Brooklyn, and now those same rumors that were in Boston are happening in Brooklyn.
I didn't hear any rumors from Brooklyn.
Yeah, when he was over in China, like the conversations that were coming about his mood swings from there.
It wasn't really a mood. I don't take that as a mood swing. I just take it as like, especially consider what went on in China while they were there.
Yeah. But no, it wasn't even a matter of like that situation. It was literally just the way he was treating staff. And those conversations led towards what basically they put it together like, oh, these were things he did when he was in Boston as well. And that's when Jackie basically put out her story.
I still think it was unnecessary. I think at this point, it is what it is. But I personally don't think it's as big as the article is trying to make it seem. And I mean, we know there's players with particular things. We've heard stories of Michael, whether he punched Kerr or not. There's a bunch of people, who do.
But remember, we heard that story because Steve Kerr eventually told us that story.
Yeah, but there's also other incidents with like Horace Grant where he talks about where like Michael will get mad if you foul him hard during scrimmages.
And who did that story come from?
Horace Grant. I get it, but I'm just saying. Again, this goes into it, the whole social media thing and the access we have to these athletes in this era. To these things coming out to be appears to be bigger than what it is. Could you imagine if there was FaceTime during the fight with Kerr and Michael? Like that shit would have been live streaming.
Been beautiful
somewhere.
Dude,
You know
I wish there was Twitter during Malice in the Palace.
Oh,
I wish we had social media when Kobe was elbowing teammates during practice.
oh.
Like, I wish these things were around, okay? Like, there's a few moments where you're just like, imagine if we had X, Y, and Z during this time.
No, it's true. But I mean, at this point, I just think whether I'm not saying our article wasn't necessary. I just think it's overblowing whatever the issue is trying to highlight.
I just think a lot of people are missing the mark on what's the more important conversation when it comes to what's being quote unquote mood swings or like difficulties from Kyrie Irving. You know, like I look at it as you have somebody and this isn't just extended to him, like it's extended across athletes and celebrities in general. Like we are literally stretching these people so thin and expecting them to still remain the people that we see in our heads,
or we want them to be,
or that
we fantasize them to be
like the expectations that we have as fans or as observers, and when they don't live up to those expectations, now we feel we have free range to just unload on them, and it's like, no, at a certain point, you got to remember that these people are human just like you are.
Yeah,
and I mean, if somebody on a daily basis, like if we had 20 people that just daily railed us and critiqued us for what we did.
Bro, you only need 2.
But that's
I
what I
only
mean.
need 2.
Like
20 is too much.
I'm saying 20 for it's like the extent of what they had, which is the thousands, would be equivalent to 20 for us. And it's just 20 people who on a daily basis just, oh, I saw you stepped with your right foot before you went with your left foot when you're walking down the stairs, you weirdo. You know, it's like just random shit like that. You know, oh, I saw you paid with change instead of like pulling out some bills you broke, you know, like shit like that. If that was a daily occurrence, we would literally lose our fucking minds. So imagine a celebrity or imagine an athlete who the second they step out there, if they have a turnover,
right, they lose a game.
Butterfinger motherfucker, you can't like. I mean, look, I'm guilty of it. I'm not saying this as if I'm holier than thou. Like,
oh, you tweeted at somebody before?
Dwight Howard. He knows it. I am guilty of it.
Oh wow, you're petty AF, bro.
I am guilty of it. But
I hope you.
But it's one of those things where it's not something I do anymore.
You should tweet at him right now. He's playing very good for the Lakers.
I don't tweet at athletes or celebrities anymore. No.
You should.
I have grown. I've learned from my past mistakes.
I think Dwight owes an acknowledgement since he was one of them that you bashed.
Look, let's see if he can maintain it for a whole season.
Hey, at this point, he's going to get that contract.
Hey, let's see if in January he's still doing this.
I'm sure he will be.
That's all I could say on that.
No,
whoa, while we're on the topic of acknowledging players, I'm going to say this now. If Steph Curry cannot bring this ragtag Warriors team to the playoffs,
okay,
a lot of people are going to have to reassess the way they looked at Russell Westbrook.
What do you mean by that?
Because Russell Westbrook, for multiple seasons in OKC, as the lead man,
right,
and people were saying he was stat padding and just trying to get his triple doubles, but I remember this guy constantly making it to the playoffs, either as a 5, 6, or 7 seed,
okay,
with a ragtag group of guys,
okay,
whether they got knocked out in the first or not, making it to the playoffs.
You know who also did that?
I know a lot of people have done that.
LeBron James.
Damn right. If Steph Curry this season starts pulling out the excuses and can't get that team to the playoffs,
he won't.
I don't think he will either.
He won't. I think if they ever get to the playoffs with this team, it's because of Russell.
This team would have been a 7-8 seed. The way they're looking, they're going to be right down there with the Kings looking at lottery picks.
It's good for them.
In the long term, yeah. But I'm going to have some real talks about Steph Curry on this.
He's worth 200 and what? 5 million? This for these few years, the next 2 years?
We're going to have some conversations. I'm putting it out there. We don't have to have it now. I'm just putting it out there for the future. So just mark this.
I've always said he was overrated, but you know.
No, I'm not saying he's overrated.
He is.
I'm just saying.
I've went on the record and I stick to it. You're the only
person in NBA history to be a unanimous MVP. You've gone out there. You had one of the greatest records in the regular season, albeit you lost in the final.
Yeah,
but
that's the one that counts.
If you can't do it, if you can't, we're gonna have to have a conversation.
Stephen Curry could barely bring himself to the fucking playoffs. This guy have ankles weaker than a brand new baby deer. You know that. He's been having ankle problems.
That is not my concern.
Oh, God.
That is not my concern at all.
Now he has a broken hand?
Hey, Westbrook never made excuses.
I love Brody.
Same.
I've always been a fan of Westbrook. I wish he was in, my Lakers. Well, I should even say, that sounds funny to say.
I love how you just acknowledged.
I wish he was playing with LeBron James.
Tyler, mark this down. We all heard it, right?
Do not timestamp that
shit.
He
said his Lakers. What time was that? Woo! 104, maybe around 104.40, something like that. He said, my Lakers. Oh, I wish Jason was here for that one. What was that, his birthday gift or something?
I guess you could consider
You've
that
officially jumped on the bandwagon?
Not at all.
Oh, it sounds like it. You said my Lakers.
I didn't mean to say that.
We have to get you a complimentary hat.
It's been a long day, I've been up since like 6:30 this morning.
Get you a nice jersey over there.
No, thank you.
You know what I'm saying?
Unless it's an MPLS jersey.
Mr. Purple and Gold, huh?
No.
Look at you.
Baby blue and white.
Look at you, purple and gold, Jamali.
You guys are crazy.
Yo, you know what? I respect it.
Fuck out of here. I'm not no Lakers fan. I'm a LeBron fan.
Claim your team.
I'm not.
Claim your team, yo.
Hey, I'm wherever LeBron goes.
Yo, you just said my Lakers.
I heard LeBron might go to New Orleans next.
No.
So I'm going to be a Pelican fan.
Out of the mouth of babes comes the truth. And my friend, you just said my Lakers.
For this season and forever, as long as LeBron's
honestly
there.
think we should end on a high note.
That's definitely a low note for me. So I don't know. I think that is very selfish.
Before I become annoying, guys, do you have any last thoughts?
Any last thoughts?
About your Lakers?
Not really, man. I just think, as I always say, love is love, and try to be kind and loving to each other.
My last thoughts, I'm going to give it up to John Witherspoon, who unfortunately passed away last week, literally the day after we finished recording.
Last Wednesday.
It's if you've ever just indulged in black comedy, it's impossible to not know who Pops is. He was damn near Pops in everything, whether it was the Wayans Brothers, the Friday movies. He is just
I like
the Boondocks.
Oh, yeah, he's true, yeah.
He's just one of those guys that you recognizable, a legend in comedy, somebody who's made people across the board laugh. If you don't know who John Witherspoon is, please do yourself a favor. Go on YouTube, do your research, do your Googles. You will not be disappointed. He's hilarious. He's charismatic. He's one of those guys that is worth the time to know.
Most definitely.
Rest in power to the great John Witherspoon.
Yep.
You leave behind a legacy that will never be forgotten. You made me laugh countless times. Thank you so much for your contribution to my life. To you. Guys.
I don't toast with waters full of lead. Sorry.
Don't ruin a good moment.
I'm just saying. Don't put nothing
Thank you guys for watching and listening to another episode of the Don't Be Mad podcast. As always, you can reach us Twitter and Instagram, Don't Be Mad Pod, or on Facebook, Don't Be Mad Podcast. We will see you guys next week for my post-birthday celebration. Also, shout out to Chelsea. Just had an incredible comeback draw against Ajax in the Champions League.
Bro, your last word is long as 8.
My last word shall go as long as I deem it.
It sucks. Fuck Chelsea.
Chelsea.
You're not gonna win anyway. You guys are third.
I don't care. I don't care. We had a great match today. Come back from being down 4-1 to draw it to make sure that we still keep in the running for their Champions League group. You will respect the swag, Mr. Europa League. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Sucks, bro.
Till next week, guys. Cheers.
We out.